Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm just making this video first thing in the morning as soon as I got up. So I have not done anything yet except for make this video, and we'll change a baby's diaper. But I feel like if I don't make it, then I will never get around to it today. And this time of day is like the best time because the baby's in the best mood. She's just behind me here, chilling, probably listening to me. But I just want to do a wrap up of what I've read so far since I did my last book video. So not really a February or mid-March wrap up or anything, just a wrap up in general, just to talk about some of these books that I've read. Now, what was it? The last book that I updated you guys on was Heart-Shaped Box. So I've read 4 books since then, although I'm really going to talk about just 3. The 4th book that I'm not going to talk about is The Last Girls of Pompeii, and I can't remember who wrote it. I didn't write it down. But that was a read aloud that I did with my kids, and that was good. I mentioned it, I think, in a morning basket video, which is why I'm not going to talk about it too much. So the other 3 books that I have finished since the Heart-Shaped Box, were Kindred by Octavia Butler, and I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this book. So I read Kindred by Octavia Butler. One reason being that it's a big name on BookTube. I think everybody's familiar with this if you watch BookTube. It's not a book I don't think I would have ever picked up on its own. It's sort of like I guess it's like considered a sci-fi time travel type book. It's a modern black woman, modern being, I don't know, 1970 something, who suddenly gets thrown back in time to help her white ancestor. And so she's thrown back in time to help him during the pre-Civil War era when blacks were still slaves, which obviously makes the storyline pretty interesting. Here's the thing with this book. I loved it. I absolutely adored it. But I think I really had to work at it prior to the first, I don't know, 40 pages or so. For some reason, I didn't have to work at it. It was just very weird for me, the first 40 pages or so, because it jumps into the storyline so fast. I mean, stuff is immediately happening, and I felt like for this kind of book, I needed more of a build-up. I just felt like it was too much and we were just supposed to accept everything that's happening, or that's how I felt. I don't know. It was weird for me, but once I pushed past, I don't know, I say 40. I mean, it could have been as little as 20. I don't remember exactly. Once I pushed past that feeling, and I was like, I'm going to keep trying because people love this book, and I was going to read it anyways. It was just hard for me to mentally get into it when I was like, whoa, you're already throwing all this stuff at us. And it didn't seem quite believable to me yet, or I didn't feel like the characters were reacting the way that they should in the beginning. But once I got past that and started reading even more of it, wow, I finished this book very quickly, and it was amazing. And I mean, it totally pulled me in, and the ending, I think, was the most powerful thing for me that really brought this book way up in my opinion. But I really enjoyed this book. It's pretty, there's some pretty, I don't know how to put it, pretty brutal parts to this book, which totally makes sense given the era of time that she keeps traveling back to. So it wouldn't really have been believable without it. But yeah, it was pretty harsh at times and pretty you had on the edge of your seat. You just want to, I don't know, you want to stand up and shout and be like, no, that's not right. Cut it out. Or maybe that was just me. That's how I felt. But I really loved this book. The next book that I read was God, A Human History by Reza by Reza or Riza Aslan. Uh, Let me just go ahead and say I gave this book 3 stars, if that gives you any indication how I felt. I liked the book, but I didn't adore it. It's a nonfiction about sort of like a history. I mean, it says a human history, so I guess I shouldn't have been too surprised. It's just like a historical context for like human spirituality and how we've always had a god or gods, and it kind of delves into a monotheistic god and how sometimes that doesn't always make sense, because how we always model God after ourselves, but God is supposed to be a divine being, but we can't help but make God human, but we always want to say that God is beyond human, so like a superhuman. So it was interesting enough. I mean, I kept listening to it. I listened to it on audiobook, by the way, but here's the book. It was pretty interesting. I mean, I learned some new things, which is why, I didn't say I disliked it. I liked the book just fine. Maybe I was just hoping for some sort of revelation, and I didn't get that, and that's why I only gave it 3 stars. I mean, it's just a history. It's just a history book, basically. But I liked it. I liked the different perspective. It was interesting. It was less spiritual than I thought. I think that's why I was a little like, what? It was very, very historical, which is fine, and you expect that. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. It was a good book, and maybe I was just the one that was misinformed. But I liked it nonetheless. And the last book that I read super recently was Simplicity Parenting by Kim John Payne. And it says on the front, using the extraordinary power of less to raise calmer, happier, and more secure kids. So obviously this is another nonfiction book. It's sort of like a parenting book. What is it? It's sort of, I mean, it's a parenting book. Which I don't usually go for. I don't usually like parenting books just because I don't want anything to muddle with my mind and get me to question myself when I'm in a comfortable spot. But I like this book. I really enjoyed it. I knew I was going to like it. That's the only thing, is I had a feeling I was going to enjoy this book. I specifically picked it out because I knew I was going to agree with it. I mean, sometimes we do that, right? And I already knew I was going to agree with this book. I just wanted more ideas. I wanted more ideas about simplifying, which is basically what this book is about. And it kind of points out how simple and less is better for kids, and that they're getting lots of stuff put on them, not just from outside sources like things, not just like toys, which was my main focus. Was obviously less toys, it makes for a happier child. But it was interesting for me to learn some new things. They need less information, less input, like less exposure to adult topics. Like if you constantly have CNN news running, or I don't know, I'm just naming a network. I don't know, don't string me up. I don't watch the news, I read the news, so don't get on to me. But having, keeping a careful eye on how much they're exposed to, because even that, like information, there's such a thing as too much information for a child, and they can internalize it and really stress out. And then also too many activities, like sports and just constantly being in the car. Too much of a scheduled life, and it just is about going back to basics and having a routine, having lots of downtime, and how beneficial that is for kids. And it even touches on how kids sometimes have too many choices, and that's overwhelming. They just want to know, like, what do you want me to do, And that was interesting for me because I've been known to give my kids too many choices, and I've been able to see that that stresses them out, but I wasn't sure why, because I thought I was doing the right thing by giving them lots of choices and always making everything a choice, so they feel like they're in control, but they don't always want to feel in control. So obviously, I like this book, and I agreed with a lot of the things in it. Um, Another interesting point that the book brought up was sports, which we think of as being a recreational activity, but from a child's perspective, it's not, because it's scheduled playtime and it has rules. And kids need a break from structured things that are confined to a lot of rules. So a lot of people count, their sports activities, or maybe piano lessons or things like that, as part of their kids' playtime and free time, but how it's not. Like mentally, even though they're enjoying it, it's not. They need a break from that stuff as well, and basically to watch over scheduling those kinds of activities as well, stuff that we usually think of as fun, and just how that can bring about a child that's easier to live with, basically, is what I got from it. A child that's more mentally healthy, that isn't stressed out all the time. When you simplify their world, because kids don't need a whole lot of stimulation, because they obviously, anyone with kids will know that their imagination, their mind is constantly churning and running, and they don't need a whole lot of outside stimulation to have a good time. You throw them a spoon in a cardboard box and they'll be busy for an hour. And basically, don't be afraid. Another thing, one last thing this touches on is don't be afraid to let your kids be bored. When you say turn off the electronics, we're taking a break from doing all this stuff this week, or, we're going to clean out some of your toys and, make it easier for you to find the things that you truly care about. Expect boredom, and then how boredom is a good thing. That's another big message in this book that I enjoyed and I latched onto, and I totally believe in, which is why I enjoyed this book, because I agree with it. So those were the books I just wanted to talk with you about. Those are basically kind of like the books that I've read as part of my Read My Own Books challenge. And a quick update on that, I don't feel like I've read enough of my own books. So I am going to extend my challenge indefinitely. Maybe another month I will extend my challenge. I still have plenty more of my own books I need to read, so I'm not going to be getting more from the library in our upcoming trip, and I'm not going to be buying more. This was supposed to be quick, but someone decided she wanted to be part of this video. As you can see, she's still in her jambies. I mean, we literally just rolled out of bed, and I decided to do this video so I can get it done, because I know later this one is not going to give me quite as much time as she gives me in the morning when she's happy and had lots of sleep. You see yourself? Alright guys, well, thanks so much for watching. Obviously, if you've read any of these books and have anything to say about them, just comment below. I would love to hear from you, and I will see you all again really soon.